So we've got goods in, we've got the ability to saw a lot of materials. So we've got a mitre saw and we've got straight cutting saws. A lot of the material though does come in, like out here, already laser cut for us, or we buy cut lengths. We just, whatever's the best thing for the job, or the speed, the turnaround we've got to do. So let's have a walk around the rest of the site. So we're into the welding bays. Got our welders all lined up. In here, we've got an area for doing stainless steel welding. So you can see we've got some big flanges to weld on and a big shaft. So this is kept purely for stainless steel welding. And then we're going into the main steel welding shop next. So mild steel welding, whether it's smaller parts within a bay or whether it's large parts on these beds. These beds are 6 meters long, so we can make some really substantial jobs. And we've got 10 ton of overhead craneage in this area. We're welding up here, and on the screen they've got the 3D model and all the drawings accessible right at the point of manufacturing, so you can check everything's correct without having to ask for new drawings to be printed out. They've got the ability to move stuff around to make these jobs a lot more efficiently. So into the laser cutting area. So we have the laser over here with a tower. We can put 3 2-ton packs of material in, and then that will self-feed into the laser and unload, so we can run lights out, you know, when we've got to get stuff through when we're not here. If we go and have a look, you can see it cutting. Christoph, what are we cutting, mild steel? Yes. Yeah, so 3mm mild steel. We can see it's piercing the holes at the moment, so we can process up to 20mm thick in 3x1500 sheets. We cut a lot of stainless, mild steel and aluminium on here, but obviously thinner stainless and alley. Then parts will come over onto the press brake. So we've got 4 metre, 220 ton press brake, so we can form all of our components. We've got quite a lot of material stored in racking. New material's just been delivered. And then quite often before the parts, these are all boxed up ready to go out in kits for one of our customers. We've got our time saver machine. So this will take any burrs off the laser cut parts and put a nice smooth, break the edge on the edge of the laser cut. And we've got brushes for stainless, alley and mild steel, so you know, you get a nice smooth finish to the outside. And we can also put a grain on with that machine on the belt at the front. Small set of rollers, so we can roll some rings up. So this is a type of small component that we would have rolled on our rings over there. If the parts are much bigger, we then would subcontract that out. The same as if, you know, we don't do our own spinnings, but we supply the laser blanks, and then one of our partners would do the spinning. These are all kitted up, ready to go into the welding shop. So into the inspection area, we've got our own CMM, we have a Faro arm, we've got other measuring equipment, so we can check the parts in here that we made in the machine shop. We'll go into the machine shop now. Into the CNC milling shop, we've got from really basic machines, so an open frame, I think 720 by about 250. We've been making simple parts because we're manually exchanging the tools, and then we go right through to, hi Chad, so this is our largest machine for vertical machining, so 3 meters by 1 meter. So very, very big for vertical machining. We've also got a 4th axis attached to this because there's certain rotated parts that we want to put holes around the outside. We've also got another VF11, which is I think 2 meters by 1 meter. And then behind us, we have a horizontal machine. So this will take a meter cube easily, but we can get 1600 across that way. Big powerful spindle, so we machine a lot of big castings or parts that want holes in lots of different places. Then we go over to the smaller milling shop. So a number of small milling machines, so like VF2, so 1 meter travel. And then if we walk around here, we have much smaller but a 5-axis machine, so we can move the part in all 5 axes and get to all the faces in one go. So we can do one-hit machine of complicated parts. I can't show you the parts because the customer wouldn't be very happy. And then over to our water jet. So when we looked at the laser, we were cutting up to 20mm maximum. On this machine, we've cut up to 160mm. But this will also cut rubber, plastic, stone, anything you can cut, we can cut on here. You know, it's a lot slower than the laser, but it gives you the ability to cut anything and much thicker materials. It might look really messy and dirty. It looked like that after it was a week old. So because you're using high pressure water and a lot of sand or garnet, yeah, it just always looks a bit of a mess. If we walk over here, behind this bit of cardboard, we've just refitted this 1960s? Yeah, 1960s Lumsden grinder. So this is a large 1 meter diameter plough grinder. So it's got a magnetic bed, so we can put these large components on there and flick over both sides to pull it into a nice, consistent, paralleled finish. Right, morning. What do you reckon to the new t-shirts then? They're good, aren't they? Right, into the turning shop. So from our largest machine, which we can hold up to 4 meters or 4 meters of travel, and then depending on the diameter of the job, up to about 600 diameter, but if we need to get across this cross light, it's more like 300 and something. Simple semi-CNC machines. A whole range of other fixed head turning centres for lots of different sizes that we can cover, you know, all sorts of components, right down to our sliding head machines, which we've got an A20 and an A32, which are for very small components. So got a wire rotor that we use for profiling parts much more accurately than you can do on the laser or on the water jet. Right, now we'll go down to the Brickfields site. So we're at the Brickfields Way site. Outside we have a lot of outdoor storage, so we hold quite a lot of extrusion for different jobs for different customers, so we can bring that in and hold that here. A lot of parts arriving from the other factory ready for assembly in this site. So over in this section we've got a punch, so we can punch up to 6mm, but that's about the limit. And then we've got our Salvagnini P4 panel bender. So this is for bending panels. So place the panel on here, and it gets sucked into the machine, and all the folding gets done, and then it gets returned on the bottom tray. So this side of the factory is predominantly used for assembly. So currently we're assembling some balconies, but this is used for lots of different things. There's a press brake up the back, which is for this one specific job, but this is becoming a bit of a multi-use space. So we use it for lots of different things. So if we walk through, we have another assembly area here that we've got some parts in. This big blue container over to this side is actually a stainless steel bead blaster. So there's a number of jobs we do for a customer that have to be bead blasted. We have that capability on site. In here we've got a aluminium welding area, so we keep this completely segregated because we don't want the mild steel or the stainless steel, so this is purely used for welding aluminium. Yeah, and then into one of our assembly areas. So we're currently assembling a feeder for one of our clients here. So this is a piece of feed automation for our Japanese client in the printing industry. So we've manufactured all of the parts here, we've powder coated it all, machined all the parts, and then we're now putting it together and testing it, and we will have built the control system for this as well. We've got a number of other projects in the assembly area which we're not allowed to film. So there's a huge area over to my left which we cannot show due to customer confidentiality. We've got a load of covers assembled. These are going to be a piece of automation for one of our customers here, ready. Well, we've done all the sheet metal work, we've wired it all up, and we're putting it together now. So into our paint area. So on the left we have our Qualicoat pre-treatment. So we're one of only 18 companies in the country that can apply pre-treatment and powder coating to a Qualicoat standard. So that's the 8-stage pre-treatment system. Then the parts go into the fully enclosed spray booth and then into the oven. So they're going as raw aluminium like these parts here. They'll be fully washed, fully painted and then baked, and then with every day there's a large amount of testing that goes on in our test lab around the back to adhere with the Qualicoat standard. So we have a smaller wet painting booth. So this is for where we spray and bake the components, but next to it is our very large paint booth which is being painted in at the moment. So that's 10 meters by 4 by 4, so you can get a big components in there. And next to that is the shot blaster, which is roughly the same size as the paint booth, so we can blast what we need to paint. We can't film hardly anything in here, but this is where we build all our electrical control panels. We've got a machine here that we're working on currently, which we are allowed to film. So this is a BMS we're retrofitting at the moment for a customer. Yeah, generally in this area, if we were allowed to film, the guys are building a lot of control panels, control systems, you know, developing screens for things, but due to customer confidentiality, we can't show any of that. Upstairs, 3D printing. So this is a extrusion-based printer, Ultimaker. So reasonable sized bed, so for printing this type of part, so we have that available. Number of different colours, number of different materials. This actually self-feeds itself, so one reel finishes, it can swap onto another, or you can use 2 different materials. But we also have a resin-based printer. So this is the Formlabs machine here. We also have a washing station and a UV station, and this can produce this type of part. So difference being you get a better surface finish with this resin-based machine, but you still have to deal with the support material.